Oh, hold on. Where'd it go? There it is. Well, it certainly has been a long time. Hello, everybody. It's me again. And today is November 21st. And as you all know, that is the day when the Britannic met her fate at the bottom of the ocean. So, I've never done this before, so bear with me because it's going to be very unprofessional. But we're going to be doing some stuff to commemorate the disaster. And I've got a list here, actually. If I could maybe turn down the audio a little bit. Alright, so here's the plan. We will be talking about like our experiences with Britannic. I'll start off with mine. If anyone in the chat wants to talk about anything like how you've found out about Britannic or stuff like that, that'll be your time to talk about it. Then we will talk about the history of the ship from her birth to her sinking. After that, we will watch through the real-time sinking video. And after that, I've got some cool photos and videos to show you. So, yeah. Hello, CNE. Good to see you again. Hello, Arthur and Melody. Let's see who else we got here. Player, Edwin. Bandito, good to see all of you. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. I apologize for the wait. I originally was going to start at 1 o'clock, but I hadn't gotten everything prepared yet, and then things kind of went a little weird at 1:30 when I was supposed to start, so that's why I'm a few minutes late. But don't worry, nothing's going to change. We're still going to go through the whole stream, as long as OBS will be nice, because I had to switch over since the whole spiel with Streamlabs happened. Anyways, I think that's enough talking. So let's go ahead and begin. I want to keep this up in the background, but yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'll keep the music playing, because why not? It's nice music. It's not the generic, sleeping sun that you always hear with, Britannic videos. Speaking of which, I'll bring it up in just a minute. In the meantime, however, where is it? There she is. Okay, so I suppose we'll start off with talking about my experience with this ship. Why is it going through the images when I'm telling it not to? It's fine. It'll just cycle through a few images. Or disappear like that. Alright. Here, I'll put you back on the other screen while I figure this out. Yeah, new live streaming software and all that. It's gonna take a little while to get used to. What if I just do that? Give it as much time as possible. And then it won't change. Alright. How about that? Now, hopefully it'll stay there, and not change until I tell it to. Anyways, we'll start with my experience with this ship. I'm sure a lot of you have had this same sort of experience as I have. Hold on, I'm gonna turn yawn down there so I can hear myself. But when I was little, and already way too into Titanic, I discovered a funny old website called YouTube. You might recognize it. You're on it right now, actually. And I saw this video. I can't remember who it's by, I'll have to look, but it was, no surprise, a Britannic Sleeping Sun video. Who was it by again? G&F Pictures, that's right. Uploaded 12 years ago. And it was just scenes from the 2000 Britannic movie. Put to the generic song associated with all sinking ships and disasters, Sleeping Sun, which honestly is a pretty good song, but in my opinion it is a bit overused. Anyways, point is, I watched that video, and from that point, I just kind of fell in love with it just as much as I had with Titanic. Of course, it was overshadowed completely by my obsession with Titanic, because that's all I ever talked about when I was young. But it was still there, just in the back. And over the years, especially after the real-time sinking came out from Honor and Glory, I just sort of started to really enjoy learning more and more about the Britannic, and just looking at the ship herself and how beautiful she was and could have been. And then one day I decided to make my own Sleeping Sun video, and I made it just for fun. I was in the middle of school. Yes, I was making a YouTube video while in school when I should be learning. I know my parents are watching this, and I am sorry for not telling you that. Yes, I wasn't working when I should have been. Anyways, I made that video just for fun, because I wanted to test my skills using iMovie, which is a video editing app for Apple devices. And I was like, well, I want to try this. And I, at the time, had a different YouTube channel, which I was making gaming videos on, so I had some sort of editing experience already. And I uploaded the Britannic video to there, and just kind of left it there. I was like, okay, I made a cool thing here, I'll just let it sit there and make some more cool things and put them all here on the second channel, which is this one that you're all on right now. And then the view counter started going up, and then it kept going up, and up, and up, until it hit 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and eventually it reached 1 million, which is absolutely mind-blowing for me. And it's all because of that one video I saw 12 years ago that any of this happened. I'm sure sooner or later I would have found out about the Britannic, because, I mean, it's Titanic's sister ship. Of course I'd find out about it, but I don't know if I ever would have come across that video, despite how popular it is. And if I hadn't come across it, this channel wouldn't be a thing. It's amazing, the little things that can change history. Not like I'm anything historic, but yeah, anyways, that's my point here. This is all because of that one video. And that is how my whole experience with Britannic started. And I'd love to hear how other people came across Britannic. And if you would like to share that, go ahead. I would love to read about it. But I believe that is all I have to say about my experiences. And there is a message in the chat that is currently blocked off, so let me take a look at that. Rest in peace, those who died on the Britannic. Yes, rest in peace. I am trying... Thank you for reminding me that, actually. I'm trying to find a list of the people who died on the Britannic so I could read them off at the end of the stream. But I'll do that when the real-time syncing's going on. But yes, like I said, if any of you want to share your experiences with Britannic yourself, or like maybe anything you have, especially those of you in the Discord, if you would like to show like pictures of, say, models or just anything related to Britannic, go ahead. I'd love to see it. Today is the day to do it. So, let's talk about Britannic. If I could pull up the page here. I was initially going to write like a thing to read off of for this, but I didn't have any time to, because I was busy editing another video that I'll show you guys later. So I'm gonna have to kind of improvise off of the Wikipedia page, so forgive me for this. I'm gonna turn the music down just a little bit more, since it is kind of repetitive. Whoops, that's not it. There we go. Okay. What in the world is going on there? Oh dear lord. That's not how the transitioning is supposed to work. Alright, hold on. Hold on. Let me test this out real quick. Man, OBS is being very naughty, isn't it? Just set it to this. Nope. Why don't you want to cooperate with me? Hidden Mysteries, Titanic game, or the Oh yeah, the Titanic versus videos. Oh, I remember seeing so many of those, and then all I cared about, honestly, was the Titanic and the Britannic back then. Which I can understand now why so many people are like, oh my god, Britannic or Titanic in my comments, because they're probably all pretty young. And they were just like me at some point, having that obsession with just a few different things. Anyways, just trying to see if the slideshow will work here, but doesn't look like it wants to at the moment. Sad Olympic noises. Yeah, unfortunately the Olympic is overshadowed because it didn't sink. And if you do think it synced? That's not a word. If you do think it sank, then I don't know what's wrong with you, but we're not going to get into that. That's a whole another thing to talk about. And it's not about Olympic. It's about Britannic. So anyways, as you all know, Britannic was the third and final ship of the Olympic-class trio, the other two being the Olympic and Titanic. She was laid down in 1911, shortly after the launch of Titanic. Or, no, not Titanic, Olympic, I believe. I don't remember entirely. And she was completed in 1915. But as we all know, unfortunately, she never got to go into passenger service. It was purely bad timing, really. Once Britannic was launched and her fitting out began, World War I broke out, and they needed ships. They saw Britannic, and then the British Admiralty requisitioned her to become a hospital ship. And since they were almost done with fitting out the ship with her interiors and everything, they had to completely gut the ship of her interiors. That includes, like, all the staterooms, furnishings, the organ, which I love, by the way. Just everything had to be taken out. And then she was repainted to what you see right in front of you. And she served for about a year. Oh, hello. Now it's working, sort of. And now it's doing the thing again. Alright, I see. Well, I guess we'll have this then, because I don't know what it's doing. I'll try to figure it out. But, anyways. Yeah. She was only able to serve for about a year. And then it all went downhill from there. But we won't get to that yet. We're going to talk about the good times of the Britannics. Words. They're not with me today. And neither is the stream, apparently. Anyways, since Britannic was still in construction at the time of the Titanic disaster, they had plenty of time to make some changes. Yeah, technical difficulties. I'm working around them, though. It's not really much of a problem, because this is new streaming software. I'll get used to it eventually. Hey, Bandito. Anyways, once the Titanic disaster happened, both Olympic-class liners, actually, were drawn from service to have some changes done, and mainly the watertight bulkheads. They were raised up to B deck on Britannic. I'm not entirely sure about Olympic. It might have been the same, but... Thank you, Bandito. I'm trying to figure out why it's not wanting to transition here. There we go. So yeah. Main additions were raising the watertight bulkheads, and lots and lots of more lifeboats. Including, or besides those, they increased the ship's beam to 94 feet to allow for a double hull. Now, essentially, if you don't know, a double hull is, well, really just the name. So you have, like, the external hull, which is, like, what you see on the outside. And normally, right after that, would just be the inside of the ship. But with the double hull, it's essentially just putting two hulls together. One's on the outside, and then there's a little space in between, and then there's another hull. And that was put on both Britannic and Olympic, and raised up a couple decks, I believe. Not sure exactly how much. I know more about Titanic, not about Britannic. I'm sorry, believe it or not. Can I transition here? Try to. I lost my spot here. Okay, yeah. On top of that, the watertight compartments were enhanced to allow for 6 compartments to be flooded, to keep and still have the ship stay afloat. Unlike Titanic, which was 4 compartments. On top of that, they also added gantry davits, which are those weird-looking cranes you see. Oh my god. Shadow not knowing more about a ship? Impossible. I know, I am not actually Shadow. I am, some other person. Shadow's actually in the closet behind me. So yeah, the gantry davits are those cranes that you see. One of them's just in front of the first funnel, the others are towards the rear, in between the third and fourth. Now, those were essentially just cranes for lifeboats. They were not used on many ships, surprisingly. They were only used on about 3 ships that I can think of. Shady Eagle. Yeah, they were only... I like that name, actually. That would be a good, alternate name. But they were only used on 3 ships. I can't remember... I could be wrong, but I know there were 2 other ships. I don't remember the names of them. And then there was the Britannic. Surprisingly, they weren't really that popular, and I believe the reason is because they just took up too much space on the deck. Believe it or not. And they just kind of made it look ugly. But, these, gantry davits would prove very useful in the sinking, as they were able to get out significantly more lifeboats than they would have using the standard Welland davits, which are the ones that you would see Titanic using. Now, they still had those Welland davits on the ship. They were just lined on the sides, in between, like, where the cranes are. Now, they didn't go the whole length of the ship like they would with Olympic. They just went, in the middle. Villain arc when. We won't talk about that just yet. Tune in next time, though. But, yeah. In total, Britannic had about 65 lifeboats. I may be wrong there. Hold on. It has it somewhere. I'll figure it out. But it had around 60 lifeboats, at least. Unlike Titanic, which had 20. Which I personally still can't believe they would allow that. You see, the thing is, branching into that topic real quick. Back then, until after Titanic, they just saw lifeboats as... Think of, like, when you're... Think of going to New York. You're, like, on the Manhattan side of the city, and you want to go see the Statue of Liberty. So, you take a little ferry from Manhattan to the Statue of Liberty. And, it's essentially like that. Like, lifeboats were seen as ferries to other ships. They thought that there would always be a ship close enough to a sinking vessel that could come to rescue them, and they would be able to take their lifeboats and transfer them back and forth until everyone was off the ship. Obviously, this was not the case with Titanic. There were no ships, and they were all on their own. So, while having more lifeboats is good, and it makes the ship appear more safe, it's not exactly the best option. Because even with it, even if you have like as many lifeboats as Britannic right here has, and you have the 2 hours and 40 minutes that Titanic took to sink. Now let's say Britannic sank like that, but it was only the Welland davits and not the gantry davits. They would still probably only be able to get out the same amount of lifeboats that they did. Because even though they weren't all full, they still took a very long time to lower, because they had to do them manually, it was cold, and they were inexperienced. So, more lifeboats probably wouldn't have helped either situation. However, if you put the gantry davits in, it's a completely different story, which you will see when we get to the sinking. Now, going back to the main topic, can my screen stop dimming here for me? I believe that's the main changes, aside from stuff like just design changes like for rooms and stuff around the ship. That's basically the main like changes due to the Titanic disaster. Now, once Britannic was completed, and there we go, I got it. You can also see Britannic in the background there, apparently. There's two Britannics. We've created a time paradox. But this is what Britannic was supposed to look like as a passenger liner. The main difference here is obviously the painting of the ship, or the livery, not painting. And the additional gantry davits on the very stern of the ship, which they would not have time to add before they had to put the ship out into service. So, they just added some more Welland davits to the back of the ship. And you also will notice that there's not a gantry davit on the other side of the first funnel. It's the same reason, they just didn't have enough time. And moving on, here's Britannic, just a little bit towards the end of her construction before they were ready to launch her. And there's actually a video which I can pull up here of the ship launching. Any interesting facts that most people may not know about? I mean, I've kind of been saying some things that, like, the general public wouldn't know about. Something that most people wouldn't know about. Well, for one thing, the grand staircase was going to be much different from the rest of the ships. Think of, like, I'm sure you've all seen the grand staircase photos of, like, Olympics grand staircase, or, like, you've seen it in the movie. But think of that. It's sort of... Here. I've got a picture that's not the exact grand staircase, but it's close. You're seeing all my other pictures I've had here. Here it is. This is Britannic's organ, and basically the rest of the staircase. This is in a catalog, this is not on the actual ship. Now, if you've seen the picture of Olympic staircase, which everyone thinks is Titanic's staircase, but there's actually no actual picture of Titanic's grand staircase, because at the time, people didn't know Titanic was going to become as famous as it did, so they didn't take as many pictures of it. But if you look up that picture, and then you compare it to pictures, or this picture of the Britannic's grand staircase, you can see it is much more beautiful, and people don't seem to really know that because, of course, they don't look it up. But yeah, not just this, but many of Britannic's interiors were vastly different from Titanic and Olympic. As a matter of fact, I could argue that Britannic's interiors were more beautiful than the other two ships could ever be. Even Olympic in her later career, I don't think it could have beaten Britannic. And what you're looking at here right now is Britannic's organ. Now, this was perhaps one of my favorite pieces of the ship, but I will get into that later. Here's another cool photo that I found from the game, which unfortunately I won't be able to play because my computer sucks. But, we'll talk about that later. In the meantime, let's go back to where I was. This picture. That's not the picture. Where did you go? Come back. Come back here, slideshow. There it is. Anyways. So. There is a video of Britannic's launch that I'm going to go ahead and pull up. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh my god, you can see my screen. No, you can't. Britannic launch. Unfortunately, there isn't any video of Titanic launching. However, there is some of both Olympic and Britannic. However, Britannic has more video. Shut up, I don't care about real solutions. But Britannic has more video of her construction and launch, probably because, well, Titanic. They needed more footage because these were the only two liners that were going to be in service now. And I don't know about you, but that makes sense. Might as well get more of the last liner that you're going to make for the class, since one is already gone. No. Okay, here, let me pull this up for you. There we go. We'll turn that off. So, as you can see, this is on the bow of the ship, and that was moments before the launch, and now here we are. You could see some of the workers up on deck waving away. You see, what makes me sad is that ship launching isn't the same as it used to be. Like, there's just... It felt special seeing these ships just floating or sliding down into the water. But now it's... I don't know how to put it into words, but if you looked at a ship launching from this era versus a modern ship launching today, you can see the difference and, like, how interesting it is. Here, you're watching just a beautiful ocean liner just slowly making her way down into the water. But nowadays, you just see a ship slide sideways into the water, make a big splash, get people wet, and that's it. And keep in mind, those are made with the help of machines nowadays, but these were built by people. And I'm not trying to say that the old days were better. Of course, now it's much safer and faster to build ships, but... And now you can see they're starting the fitting out process. They're lowering the funnel on top of people, which I find kind of funny. But just seeing the process of shipbuilding back then versus now, it just is so much more impressive that people built these by hand. There was little to no machinery involved. Of course, you got like smelting and shaping metal, and then you've got the cranes to help load all the heavy stuff on, but most of this was built by hand. It's only with smaller cargo or military ships, really. I haven't... Yeah, I've seen the slowly floating thing. I think they did that with, forgive me, I don't know, but whatever the newest Royal Caribbean ship is. But, ooh, this was a favorite shot of mine, just watching the dry dock fill with water as you get this nice shot of her propellers. And it's kind of eerie at the same time if we go back a little bit, because this propeller right here is the same propeller that would take those 30 lives as she went down. That exact propeller. To be honest, living in the desert, seeing any body of water with ships in it is mine. Yeah, I can second that because I live in a desert as well. But, going back to what you said, CNA, I've only seen, like, them, like, floating the ship out. Like, I don't see them doing, like, what they do with these, where they have them, like, on the, I forget what they're called, but they, like, slide them out into the water. Which, I mean, I know they don't really need to do that now, but it would just be interesting to see. Unless I could be completely wrong, I don't know. But now you can see Britannic's in the process of fitting out. They've started painting her. The funnels are going up. Everything's looking good for this ship. And it's around this time, I believe, that she would be requisitioned for the war. Olympic had already been turned into a, Aww. Well, we're all here for you, Zero. Chat, give Zero a pat on the back for me. For being such a wonderful mod and friend. As a matter of fact, I'm giving everyone in the chat a pat on the back as well, because you're all just amazing people. And I'm glad that you're here. Now, I'll let this play some more, since it's something to look at besides a picture. But yeah, it's around now that she was requisitioned, and Olympic had already been turned into a troop ship. It's actually another picture I can pull up real quick. If I can get to it. Where's it at? There we go. This right here. You can see Britannic on the right there. She's almost complete by now. And then on the left, you see the Olympic, who is there to be turned into a troop ship. I don't know the exact time and date of this picture, but we know relatively when. I'm sure the date's somewhere, but I can't find it. This is also a very touching picture to me, because this is one of the only times, if not the only time, that these two ships would be near each other. Like, I don't know about you, but a lot of people, like, that are into, like, vehicles, like ships or planes or cars, like to think that they're alive in some way. I don't know what it is, like why we do it. It just feels nice in a strange way, and seeing this picture almost makes it seem like they're like talking to each other. I mean, these are sisters, and they haven't really seen each other. Last time Olympic was around was, I believe this should be Belfast, but I believe the last time Olympic was here was for post like Titanic disaster changes. But then she came back and is now getting ready to be turned into a troop ship, while Britannic is still being completed. Do you know how long it took to build the ship? I know roughly, but I could take a look. I know it takes around 2 years to complete, for each of the Olympic class liners to be completed. But I'll take a quick look at that. It was roughly 2 years, though. Let's see. I am actually wrong about that. Unless, it was a year from launch to completion, but from the beginning of her construction, she was laid down on November 30th, 1911, and completed on December 12th, 1915. So that's 2, 3, 4. Yep. Definitely was wrong on that one. It was 4 years, not 2. So it took 4 years to completely finish the Britannic. But that also includes having to take out all of her interiors after putting them in. As for Titanic, it took 2 to 3 years to build, same with Olympic. Now, if we go back to the video here, it just looks like a peaceful, cloudy day, just another ship being built. I believe this is the 4th funnel being brought up onto the ship right now. It's just, in a weird way, it's mesmerizing. I think that's how you say it. Just to watch all of this hard work being put into this ship. So much, like, time, care, and effort put in. And they did this a lot. They built so many of these. Not Britannic. They didn't build 50 Britannics, though that would have been funny. But they built a lot of these ships. And they all took a very long time. Longer than I would be willing to put effort into just a video. That was a little too much for me, but it's just amazing to watch. And the funnel just took a nap again. Alright, I don't know what that was about. Might be a little weird thing with the footage. There we go. These cranes, too. These are some pretty damn powerful cranes. Because I believe... I might be wrong on this, but I believe that each funnel is around 60 tons at least. I will have to find that out. But yeah, the funnels were pretty damn heavy. And yeah, it's a crane. It's supposed to hold heavy things, but that's you gotta remember, that's a crane from the 1900s. Old-timey videos, my beloved. Yeah, there's just something about old videos that have a bit of charm to it. It's like going back to an old YouTube video uploaded in 2008 that you watched all the time. There's just something about it. It's not nostalgic, these older videos, but it just seems more pleasant. Now, we'll move on from the construction of Britannic to her first service. And thank you to... What was his name again? Hello, random guy. You're on... Oh, it's Linus. That's right. You guys should watch him. He's actually pretty nice. But anyways. So, we're gonna move on from her construction to her first, well, I wouldn't say crossing, but just service as a hospital ship. If I could pull up the picture here for you. So, this is a picture taken, where was it? There we go. January 1916. So, about a month after she was completed and started service. I think it's just the way the picture is, but it almost looks like the top of her funnels are white, which actually kind of seemed like an interesting idea for a hospital ship. Yellow funnels, but the tops are white. I kind of like that. But, as you can see, if you look towards the stern, you'll see one of the gantry davits is out. That's typically how they'd load people onto the ship. Or, right down, I can't use my cursor to point at it, but, if you look down just below the davit, professional YouTube, can't remember name of source material giver, that's because Linus showed up. What was the dude? Where is he? Hi again. William Murdoch.net. I like that name. Yeah, that guy actually has a lot of old, like, Olympic class videos. He has Olympic, he has some of, or, like, the only of Titanic, and then he has Britannic. I think he also has some other ships, but mostly those. There's one video on his channel that's like a whole bunch of like archive footage of Olympic, and I really recommend you check it out because it's interesting. So yeah, at this point in the war, they desperately needed hospital ships, and it's a neat thing to think about, but the Olympic class was always being said to be like the largest ships in the world. Well, which they kind of were. Olympic was the largest for quite some time until 1913, which I believe it was the SS Imperator, which was a German ship that took the lead for the largest ship in the world. Oh, shut up, Zero. Where was I? You got me distracted. Oh, yeah. But yeah, before that, though, Titanic briefly took over Olympic as being the largest ship, and then she went down. And then Britannic came in. Britannic, is actually a foot longer than both Olympic and Titanic. Olympic and Titanic were 882.5 feet long, while Britannic was 883.5 feet long. So, while she wasn't the largest ship in the world, she was the largest hospital ship in the world. And it's an interesting thing to think about. How, Britannic would be the largest hospital ship ever built, at least until modern day, when they built, like, the Mercy, which, personally, I think looks ugly, but it's a modern ship, so what can you say? Not to say all modern ships are ugly, but there's just very select few that look actually pretty. Hello, Snake. Welcome to the stream. So yeah, back to my point here. Since Britannic was such a large ship, she could carry thousands of wounded soldiers and nurses and doctors. She had all the space in the world for it, unlike most ships, which were about a third of her size. And, in a way, the Britannic brought hope to a lot of people, just because of the sight of such a large, safe ship. And the reason I say safe is because, as some of you might know, in the Articles of War, it is considered a war crime to sink a hospital ship. So unless a few naughty Axis powers out there, aka the Germans, decided to sink a hospital ship, which unfortunately they did, the Britannic was the safest ship to be on. Not unsinkable. I never said unsinkable. But she was safe. That's one thing the movie gets wrong, is that they say she's unsinkable. The Britannic was never said to be unsinkable. She was just safe. Hello, Gardener. Now, for her first service, she was assigned a medical team of 101 nurses, 336 non-commissioned officers, along with 52 commissioned officers, and a crew of 675. On December 23rd, she left Liverpool to join the port of Mudros. I apologize if I butcher these. You were from Greece and have to visit the Britannic shipwreck? Oh, I want to as well, but I think it's still a government site. So I think you'd have to go through a lot to go and dive down there, but what I love about that is that it's just barely at the point of where it's impossible to dive, like, without a machine, like it is with Titanic. Because I believe the deepest you can go before the pressure is too much is like 500 feet. Britannic's in 480 feet of water. Going back to what I was saying, they went to the port of Mudros, which is where I believe they were actually headed when the ship would sink. Which is kind of eerie in a way. Being the first and last port that it would be going to, or headed for, rather. Now this is what I find interesting, and I can't find the picture of it because there either isn't one or it's just lost somewhere. But her first crossing, she joined Mauritania, Aquitania, and Olympic. Now, both Mauritania and Aquitania were hospital ships at the time as well, I believe, while the Olympic, as I stated before, was a troop ship. But they were all four-funneled liners. And they were also both liners built to rival each other. Olympic was built to rival the Lusitania and Mauritania. But at the time, and by now, Lusitania had already sank. So it was just the Mauritania. Otherwise, I'm sure Lusitania probably would have been there too, which would have been really cool to see all those together. And then the Aquitania was built to rival the Olympic class as a whole. So it's kind of funny seeing them all together. Later, they were joined by the ship Statendam, or previously known, or afterwards known as the Justitia. And I apologize if I butcher these. Which is a 3-funneled liner, but still pretty liner, nonetheless. And, I would assume it was a really cool sight to see those 5 ships just sailing together. Just such large vessels at the time. Because they were still pretty close to the biggest ships in the world. There were just a few that were bigger. Now, on August 26th, 1916, Britannic was called from service. And, there was a glimmer of hope for the ship, for the White Star Line, because now they could bring her to passenger service to become the ship that she was meant to be. However, unfortunately, after they started putting interiors in again, they were like, wait a minute, we need you again. So they had to take the interiors back out, and Britannic would become a hospital ship once again. That's alright, Snake. Thank you for stopping in and subscribing. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Tour with a submarine and it was beautiful. Ooh. You can get tours. Interesting. I mean, would be nice. But yeah, I can only imagine how infuriating it was after putting some of her interiors in again, after already having to take them out once, and then just have to take them out again. Now, most of her, at least from what I can remember, most of her voyages weren't really eventful. I mean, she might have, helped with like some sinking ships or something. If not, then I don't know. Like I said, I am not 100% informed about Britannic. I just know like a little more than average, but not like everything. Yeah, if you were expecting a very professional explanation of Britannic, like Honor and Glory streams, that you've come to the wrong place. But yeah, most of her voyages were uneventful. Up until November 12th, 1916. Now, Britannic was going to head to Lemnos. But first, she had to make a stop at Naples in Italy, which we should arrive at on the morning of November 17th to be refueled, cold, and just to let people walk around the city while she is filled up again. Now, there's actually a neat little picture in, like, I think it's on the menu of Patroness of the Mediterranean, actually, which I can go ahead and try to find real quick, if I can. Nope, that's from the movie. I don't want that. Well, it's... Oh, here it is. Okay. So I will go ahead and pop this into here real quick. Right there. And then if I stop this, I believe this is a ship. Yeah, that's a ship. In case you didn't know. I believe this is a picture of the ship stopped in Naples, Italy. Now, she would be there for a little while because there was a storm coming in. And Captain Bartlett, who was captain of the ship throughout her whole career, decided to take advantage of the weather. My brain broke for a minute. Hello. Okay. He decided to take advantage of the weather once it broke to leave before it would come back again. And finally, by the next morning, November 18th, the storm died and the ship continued on without any problems. I apologize for stuttering so much. I have not talked this much in a long time. Nothing else of note really happened when the music isn't Nightwish. For once, it won't be. Although, unfortunately, I have to warn you in advance, the stream is not free of Sleeping Sun because I am going to talk, and I already have talked a little bit about my Britannic video. There's a reason I talked about it, but it's nothing stupid, I promise. Also, by the way, forgive me for not saying this sooner, welcome to the stream, Western Flyer. Hope you're having a good day. Anyways, nothing else really happened for the rest of the voyage up until November 21st. And I'm sure you all know by now what happened. My video got you into the band? Ooh, well that's nice. They do have a couple good songs. My particular favorites are, of course, Sleeping Sun and their cover of Phantom of the Opera. They're a pretty good band. I recommend you listen to some of their songs. But anyways, as you all know, if I can get back to the picture, on the morning of November 21st, Britannic was headed past the Kia Channel, which in the top left corner you'll see red islands. That bigger island there is the island of Kia. Britannic was on the left side of that island. Well, of course I refer to Britannic as that. I refer to all ships as she or her or he or him, depending on which ship you're talking about. Because yes, believe it or not, there are some male ships, like the Bismarck. But Britannic was passing by the island of Kia. Here's a closer look. That island on the left there, that's the island of Kia. Now, she was more towards the top of this picture, passing, or heading downwards. And, a few weeks prior to this, which one was it? Oh yeah. The German submarine U-73 laid around 12 mines in the Kia Channel. Now, of course, they knew Britannic was coming through here, or they might have known. Oh, wait, no, forgive me. They knew Britannic, was, like, in the area. They didn't know she was gonna specifically come through here. They weren't attempting to sink Britannic. I want to make that very clear. They knew Britannic was not armed with any, like, ammunition or anything to help with the effort. She was just a hospital ship. Yeah, you're right about that one, Western. It is a really beautiful name, but when I've looked at the island, there isn't too much on it. There's a video about this that I recommend you go check out. Look up the YouTube channel Casual Navigation, and there should be a video saying why ships are referred to as female, and he'll be able to explain it much better than I can, but basically it's just how people referred to it in the older times. He can do a much better explanation of it, so remind me unless you find it. I can send it to you later, and you can take a look at it. As a matter of fact, I can write a note down just in case. Excuse me. But anyways, they laid 12 mines around here, not expecting Britannic to go straight through here. As a matter of fact, they didn't even know Britannic was going to be near this area. But there were 12 mines laid around here, and what I find a little eerie is that just exactly a week before, another ship that I can't remember the name of struck one of these mines out here, and is actually just below the island, a little bit away, but just below the island in this picture. Yeah, Western. But there's a reason for that. They didn't expect a hospital ship to be coming through here. They were trying to, they were expecting a bunch of, like, naval traffic, like, for example, ships carrying ammunitions or troops. They were expecting those to come through. But, unfortunately, Britannic, just came to the wrong place at the wrong time. And just by pure bad luck, the course she was on led her straight into one of the 12 mines. And what I find almost devastating, really, is that the ship went down in 55 minutes. Now let me remind you that Titanic was built less, quote-unquote, less safe than Britannic, but it took her 2 hours and 40 minutes to go down, while it only took Britannic 55 minutes. Now, part of that is probably, or most definitely, because the ship was moving throughout most of the sinking. Yeah, definitely. It was pure luck that it wasn't during her way back, because Britannic was still on the way to go pick up soldiers. There were no wounded on board yet. It was just the staff. Yes, and a lot more people would have died. There would have been at least a couple hundred deaths, because, as you know, it is difficult to take care of somebody that's wounded, like, as in moving them around. Ice versus a mine, yeah, but then again, Britannic had a lot more against her than Titanic did. Titanic had 5 compartments breached, but all of her watertight doors were working. Yeah, that's the point I was about to get to, actually. The mine, like, warped the entire ship. It jammed open the forward watertight doors fully open, which only allowed water just to uninterrupted just flow throughout the ship. Hello, Eric. Welcome to the stream. But, yeah, water just allowed to flow freely through the front of the ship. Coupled with that were a bunch of open portholes because it was warm, I believe, and they needed some fresh air. Portholes were open, the ship was moving, and for those of you who aren't very familiar with ship stuff, the driving force of a ship, like, while it's sinking, will only make it sink faster, because there's just more water being forced in as it's moving. Just think of it as like taking a cup and putting a little, like a plastic cup, and then cutting through a little hole in the bottom of the cup. And then, I actually tried this, it's pretty cool, by the way. And then you stick it in, like, say, a pool. If you just let it sit there, with a little bit of force applied, it'll fast, because it's a small cup, but slowly flood. If you put it in the water and start moving it, water will just rush in it. Death by screw isn't my chosen way of death. Yeah, I'd rather not be murdered by a propeller. We will get to the reason why that happens when we watch the real-time sinking in a bit here. But yeah, it's very tragic nonetheless. But those are the main, like, those were all against Britannic. There was just too many entrances into the ship for water. And again, remember, 6 compartments, and she could stay afloat. Well, at least 2 of those compartments, or 3, or even more, were fully open. And that, in my opinion, is what really made her sink the fastest. Or not the fastest, but faster. She still survived longer than Lusitania, but she was also bigger than Lusitania. About twice as big. And also didn't explode twice. Or at least it's believed that that happened. Anyways, when Britannic went down, out of the 1,065 people on board, 1,035 of them survived. This is a very low quality picture because I couldn't find anything higher quality. To answer your question, Zero, no, they just forgot that they had portholes open. That's as simple as it is. Yeah, all these people went through, I wouldn't say hell, because that would have been Titanic and Lusitania. Exactly, Western, they left them open for air. But all these people, to be on a sinking ship, regardless of how it goes down, is a terrifying thing. If the ship survives, it's still scary that it was sinking at all. And these people, all of these people were in the lifeboats by then, and they were just watching their ship go down. It wasn't like Titanic, where there were still people on the ship or swimming away. It was also pitch black at the time. This was broad daylight, everyone in the lifeboats just watching the ship go down. Yeah, it was more... This is what I find really interesting. Yeah, it was more shocking, but what I find really interesting is that most of the staff, if not all, were very calm about the situation. Of course, there was some panic and some chaos, but nobody tried to, I shouldn't say nobody, but most people didn't try to leave on their own. They stayed at their stations, and they followed orders. And if we could have had that on Titanic, I feel like, while we still wouldn't have been able to save everybody, we would have saved at least a few more lives. Maybe another 100. Oh yeah, for sure. I heard that there was a point, I don't remember who it was from, but there was a point where men started panicking and tried to get in a lifeboat. But the officer that was with them encouraged them to get back on, to which they did, and they stayed there until they were relieved to get off of the ship. Indeed. Indeed, Western. Now, the ship they're on right now is the H.M.S. Scourge. This was the one, if not the first, one of the first, ships to respond to the Britannic's distress call. Nikki! Welcome! We haven't gotten to your video yet, but we will be as soon as I'm done talking about Britannic. Yeah, that's the ship. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that is the ship. Thank you. Yeah, it's relatively close to Britannic's wreck. But, yeah, it's still interesting how exactly a week before the ship sinks in basically the same area as the Britannic. Off topic, but imagine it, you go on a ship for the first time and it sinks, thus never going... Yeah, I wouldn't blame someone if they didn't want to go on a ship if their first experience was a sinking ship. Though, that is extremely unlikely nowadays. Because the last major disaster that we had was the Costa Concordia back in 2012. And, while not a lot of people died, it was still very bad. And by the way, I'll say it again later, but, Nikki, here in the chat, I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong, by the way, I want to thank them for allowing me to use their real-time syncing video, because personally, I prefer their video over Honor and Glory's video, because there's just a lot more information in it, and some really nice angles. Sure, they're not as smooth, but I can tell they tried their best, and it's just overall a really nice video and well put together. So I want to thank them personally for allowing me to use their video. Moving on. Oh god. I'm gonna have to move this here, hold on. Let me move. Ah. OBS, what are you doing? Stop it! There we go. Okay, good enough. We'll have Britannic in the background there. So this is one of the, newspapers talking about Britannic. Again, it's the New York Times. No one's surprised. Oh yeah. Nikki's video, while it doesn't have any, voice acting, I think, if I remember correctly, it's just a lot better, in my opinion. Just 2 miles, wow. I could make a joke here, but we're not in the mood for jokes right now. It's just interesting how close they are, though. Hold on. I'm gonna actually pull up a picture in a little bit of that ship that we're talking about, but real quick. Hospital ship Britannic sunk, 50 lives lost. Now, of course, the news always being wrong again. This is a joke, by the way. Listen, Zero. I'm trying, okay? 50 lives lost. We all know that's not true. It was 30, but at the time, numbers probably got mixed up. And they also thought that it was a torpedo at the time. As a matter of fact, a lot of the staff thought it was a torpedo. Because, of course, it's in the middle of the war. No surprise if the Germans tried to sink a hospital ship, except, you know, kind of a surprise at the same time. Goes down in 55 minutes, that's true. Of course, it's got to mention the Titanic, because it's Titanic's sister. This was 2 days after, by the way. Forgot to mention that. I mean, you're not wrong there, Western, especially nowadays, but I want to try to steer away from the news topic for now, if we can. Oh yeah. This picture again. I'll just leave it here. Now, of course, since Britannic never had her interiors installed, I mean, she did, but they were taken out. Since her interiors were just sitting away somewhere, and not at the bottom of the ocean with her, they were just there. These were pieces of Britannic that were once inside the ship. They have a little bit of Britannic in them, in a way, if that makes any sense. And the biggest thing being the organ, which, believe it or not, the organ is still around today. I don't remember where it is, but it's in a museum somewhere, and it's being preserved. It still plays music, and what you're seeing in this picture isn't the actual organ, by the way. I should mention that. It's just the organ casing. Inside, there's a little, like, organ. It's one of those that you can, like, stick a, I don't remember what it's called, but you could stick something in it. It's like a music box. It'll play it automatically. Or you can have someone actually sit down and play something. But it would sit just at the A-deck landing of the grand staircase. It's in a German church. Oh. I thought it was somewhere in, like, France or something. Huh. That's interesting. But yeah. There's also houses. Honor and Glory has made a few videos about this, but there's houses that have furniture and, like, wall panels from Britannic in them. Like, I hope to God they don't demolish those houses. I doubt they will if they know what's in them, but if you want to see, like, genuine interiors surviving to modern day, I encourage you to go check out Titanic Honor and Glory's channel and look for a video called The Britannic Houses. It's a lot more technical and, like, nerdy stuff in a way, but just seeing it is enough. You might be wrong, but I'm fairly sure I read that. I mean, I've been saying stuff that I might be wrong about this entire stream, so it's fine. But yeah, there's some of Olympics interiors that have been auctioned off as well, but more of Britannic is still around, if I can put it that way. And there's that picture again. Alright, I am going to quickly bring up the ship that we were talking about before. Oh, hold on. Long-lost pipe organ that belonged to the steamship Britannic was identified in the collection of museum German words, or excuse me, some words. Switzerland. It's in Switzerland. Ooh. Wow, yeah. Thank you for getting that, Western. You're really helping me out here, dude. I really appreciate it. Alright. Let's go ahead and search this real quick. I believe this is it. Could be wrong, but this ship right here is what's coming up. And if it is the ship, I believe it was a three-funneled ship, sorry. And it might be this one. I'm sure Nikki would know. but this ship sank Switzerland? That's how you say it, right? Am I saying it wrong? I don't know. But this is the ship that would, that might, I don't know if it's still down there or not. Nobody's really acknowledged it, I think. But, I mean, don't get me wrong, Western, I love Titanic just as much as any other person, but you gotta give room for the other ships too, you know? Especially Olympic. Olympic is overlooked a lot. It is that one? Thank you, Nikki. I don't even know if... I mean, of course people have discovered the wreck since people know it's there, but I wonder if it's still actually there. While I'm bringing up pictures, I should probably... I can't believe I forgot, but... It probably looks much different now, because this is basically a generic picture of it. Let's get one that's actually detailed. There we go. This is the wreck of the Britannic. This is from several years ago. But, one thing I would like to point out that's very obvious is that Britannic is in a much better condition than the Titanic. Not only because she's not... Well, I mean, she's technically is in two pieces, but you know what I'm trying to get at. Nice footage of that wreck in his movie, Mr. I've heard about the mystery of the Britannic thing. I haven't looked at it yet. I want to. I just keep forgetting about it. And I will take a look at that book. Hospital Ship Library is just... Yeah, it is pretty. It is very pretty. And though you might not be able to see it on the wreck, if you look closely... I looked at an example of a World War I era mine that's still sitting on the seabed. Would it still be capable of exploding? I would assume that a mine would eventually be sitting underwater for too long, or could it still have a chance of exploding? That's kind of scary to think about, because there could be some sea mines still out there that could just hit you. No, that's very unlikely, of course, as a lot of things are nowadays. Back to my point, though. If you look very closely at the hull of the ship, you can very vaguely see the paint. You can see a little bit of white, you can just barely see some green, and you can see the red as well, just a little bit. It's at the bottom, so... okay. I thought it was, like, still chained up. Made sure not... Yeah, that's good to hear. But... Britannic is for sure gonna be around longer than Titanic will be. I'm saying at least 100 to 200 years now. That's assuming nothing's gonna collapse for a while. Titanic only has maybe 50 to 80 years left, in my opinion, before it completely collapses and there's not much left of it. But Britannic is still in pretty good shape for being at the bottom of the ocean for over 100 years. 105 now, as of today. And if you're wondering how for those of you like Zero who are still learning about this, the reason there's a hole there at the bow, and I'll explain it again later, but since the ship was sinking almost like vertical, or more so diagonally, but Can my words come back? There we go. Since it was sinking almost diagonally, and it was longer than how deep the water was, the bow dug into the ground, and as the ship started settling under the water, think of it as like putting a stick, like, on the side of a table, and you hold it down by one end and put more pressure on the end that's hanging off until it breaks. That's essentially what happened here. Because the bow was dug into the ground, it was kind of stuck there, and since there's the whole rest of the ship coming down, it just ripped away from the bow, and it just sat down like that. So that's basically how I think that happened. It certainly makes the most sense to me. It just ripped itself apart because the bow was jammed in there. And you can see it's pretty far into the sand. But, as of today, the wreck is, I believe it's still government protected. It's considered a war grave. And at some point they were hoping to turn it into an underwater museum, but I don't think that ever happened. But, yeah. When Britannic sank, I think it was the SS Majestic? They were given the ship, the SS Majestic, which I will pull up in just a minute here, as, I don't want to say replacement, but I can't think of the word. Here it is. Well, let me get a better picture. How about that one? There we go. Alright. So this is one of the, German ships, like, oh yeah, that's right, somebody, bought it. As long as they're keeping it safe and protected, I don't care who has it. As long as they just treat it properly. But anyways, this ship, was given to the White Star Line to replace the Britannic. Yeah, I know that they weren't happy about it, but Majestic turned out to be a very good ship for the White Star Line, I believe. And, after, the 1930s, the White Star Line didn't really have a good time. But, that's another topic for another day. And with that, I believe we are done talking about Britannic. So, at this point, I think we are ready to move on to the real-time syncing. Once again, thanks to Nikki for allowing me to use their video. And I will finally stop this repetitive music that has been playing for... how long have I been streaming now? Over an hour and a half. Right, there we go. Okay. So now, I'm going to have it up on my TV next to me as well, so I can look at it better. Where? There. Okay. Yeah, you're right, Western. It's not like they were responsible for that happening. Though, excuse me, I didn't ask for my TV to do that. I have a bit of sympathy for them with the Britannic because we all know it wasn't their intention to sink it. It was just wrong place at the wrong time. Oh my god, I won't be surprised if that happens when I start playing that video later. Alright, so, we're going to be here for a while. I'm going to be talking throughout it. I'm going to try to read some of the text that pops up. But I'm not going to be pausing it unless I miss something or it's absolutely necessary, because I want to sit through this in real time. I want us to experience it as it happened. Now, of course, we're not doing it exactly at the time that it actually sank. As a matter of fact, I would have had to do that in the middle of the night, probably, because this happened at 8 in the morning over in Greece. And we're all the way over, or at least I am, all the way over in the United States. So, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be streaming at like 3 in the morning. Oh no, I didn't mean this video, Nikki. I meant he was talking about we were talking about my sleeping son video that I made. But yeah, this is your video. I wasn't talking about this one. So anyways, I believe we are pretty much ready. So let's begin. Once again, thank you, Nikki, for allowing me to use this. Oh, that's Eastern time. 8:12 a.m. Everyone was just finishing their breakfast, and I want to point out there was a shift change going on, so the watertight doors were open to allow access through the ship. Here we go, mentioning the mines being laid. And there we go, we have impact. Oh, I see what you mean, Nikki. Okay. I panicked for a little bit there because I thought you meant, like, what I thought. Okay, so, as I just mentioned, the explosion created a gas bubble, and, sent a shiver through the ship, which warped its hull, and jammed some of the watertight doors open. And, it just mentioned, Violet Jessup, previous survivor of the Titanic disaster and the Olympic Hawk collision. Captain Bartlett just came up on deck in his pajamas, which I find a little bit funny. The engines have just been ordered to stop. And there you go. They close the doors, and boiler room 5 forwards failed to close. So the entire front of the ship is... This I find interesting. Photos of the bulkhead doors fully open. That I didn't know they had photos of. Already they're sending out distress signals, but because of the explosion, the lines connected between the two masts snapped, and now Britannic is no longer able to receive any messages. So they can still send out calls for help, but they won't receive any replies. It's basically like texting somebody, but you can't see anything they're saying. Only they can see what you're saying. Now, water is already rapidly flooding into the ship. And Captain Bartlett wants to swing out the boats, but not have them lowered yet because he sees the island of Kia, and because he's very attached to the ship, which I don't blame him for because he's been around her since her construction, he wants to save it, so he attempts to turn the ship towards Kia. Here we go, sounding the alarm. I also want to point this out. The rudder has been jammed by the warping of the hull. So, to compensate for that, Captain Bartlett orders the port engine to full ahead to slowly turn the ship towards the island of Kia. Now that's a neat little detail I like, the SOS message, because they never said anything about that in Honor and Glory's video. So you can see already how much the ship has gone down. And it's only been about 5-ish minutes, roughly. I apologize for that, some of the text is cut off. Now this is another beautiful shot that I like, with the bloom and just seeing the ship from this angle. And then just going along the side here. Getting hit in the head. Now that's not fun. So at this point, the boats on the Welland davits are being swung out, but not lowered or filled yet. People are coming up to the deck after that alarm was sounded, of course, and going to their lifeboat stations. Most of them at this point believe that it was a torpedo, some think it was a mine. But of course, that's the least of their worries right now. All they need, or want, is to get up on deck right now. And it's still surprisingly calm. Most of the people aren't panicking. And as you come past the first funnel here, you can see that steam is being vented out to prevent the boilers from exploding, coming in contact with the ocean. Now, I don't believe the water is very cold, but still, the pressure in those boilers is pretty high. And now, if you look towards the back of the ship, you can just barely see the propellers starting to poke out of the water. Very nice angles there from Nikki. You can see invisible people starting to swing out the boats. Western. Cairo. That's another thing that I don't understand about Honor and Glory's video. They mentioned, like, all of the names of the officers in Titanic, but they didn't mention anybody except like a few important Titanic passengers in their real-time sinking. And I'm talking about the newer one, not the one that had all the like voice acting and stuff in it. That one's alright, but it's inaccurate now. Yet again, another beautiful angle provided by Nikki. You really did a good job at keeping it as smooth as you could. Yeah, I believe Britannic was originally meant to have 8 gantry davits, yes. But they didn't have enough time to put them on. So they just installed more Welland davits at the back of the ship. And then they also had the forward port one that is just missing because they had no time to put it on. But yeah, the Britannic movie isn't really that bad as long as you don't view it from a 100% historical perspective. Now you'll notice here that one of the lifeboats is suddenly moving when it's not supposed to be. A group of frightened firemen decide we're getting off of the ship now, against orders. And time is 8:20, as it says in the message, and they just decide we're leaving, despite the fact that there is a very obvious propeller coming in and out of the water below them. Now, how they missed this propeller, I really don't know. I think it's just perspective. They're probably out further from it, but... Yeah, you're right about that, Nikki. I never really thought about it that way. I would have played the game myself, but my computer does not like to stream it, which is why I'm trying to save up money, and also if people are willing to donate money to help get me a better computer to both stream more often and have more to stream, and also make more videos. But we'll talk about that later. There's the H.M.S. Scourge receiving the distress call. Also the Heroic. They're all heading towards Britannic now. But they don't know that because they're getting radio silence on their end. Yeah. I actually found that out myself, too. I was trying to sit in the first lifeboat because I wanted to watch the ship go through the whole sinking from the perspective of the first lifeboat, and I got killed. So yeah, that lifeboat's gone. And those 2 forward lifeboats you're looking at right now, those 2 will become important later on, actually fairly soon. I'm not exactly sure what I could do for 3D modeling, but that would be interesting. Remind me later towards the end of the stream, Western, and I'll see. Maybe we can get in contact and you could show me some of your work and we could go from there. I'm kind of on the fence about YouTube stuff right now because it's more of a hobby for me, but we'll talk about all that later right now. I remember Ada Garland being mentioned in the original real-time syncing. Another beautiful angle. I always love those side front-facing angles. Now already we're we're around 12.5 minutes into the sinking, and look at how far down it's already gotten. You can see the steam still venting out. I still think this is kind of a dumb thing. Like, you don't really need your toothbrush, but... This is interesting. Within 15 minutes, Britannic is in roughly the same condition Titanic was in an hour. This is another beautiful shot here. You can see the lifeboats are starting to be lifted up and swung out from the gantry davits. Appreciate that, Western. It would be interesting. Because I want to move away from, like, screen recording stuff that's not even mine to actually making my own stuff, but my computer doesn't allow me for that. Because it's a laptop and it sucks. Yeah, there's the other lifeboat. Yeah, I still don't get how those ships cleared. Or those ships? Those boats, not ships. I don't know how those boats cleared, or at least the first one cleared the propeller, because the other one's not moving. Another thing that they mentioned, they were commanded to, rescue people that were overboard, so... Appreciate that, Western. We'll see, if we can do something. You can see the significance of these gantry davits because they quickly can lower boats and get others hooked up. And the thing is, it looks like the island of Kia is fairly close, but they're still several miles offshore. Now this is, this lifeboat has 2 Titanic survivors in it. And now keep in mind, they're still being launched without permission. Not only that, but they're right next to the bridge, which I think is a stupid idea, because if the captain sees you, he's not gonna be happy. Still think it's an interesting perspective, seeing the lifeboat just kind of slide down the side of the ship like that. Now, as you all know, there's a reason we're focusing on this boat, and no, it's not because of the Titanic survivors being in it. It's just... Oh, okay, the waves are doing something there. But, this is where the deaths start to play in. Now keep in mind, this is not watching the lifeboat move away, this is the ship moving. You can see them going under the other boats. And then right over there is probably the most horrifying sight you'll see throughout the entire sinking. I love that cut there in between shots. Both of the survivors survive, of course. And I believe that Violet was hit by the propeller. Might have been something else, but how you survive getting hit by a propeller, I don't know. But we've had some people probably killed just there. Another beautiful shot. I love that just the sun shining off of the ship. And then this cool little part here, just showing I believe this was the third class area? This is originally where the open well deck would be on the other ships, but here it was an enclosed space. And here you can see another boat being lowered. But I believe this is one that is held a few feet above the water. Yes. Officer Gordon Fielding lowers a lifeboat within several feet of the water, and he keeps them there, despite being yelled at, like a bunch of angry customers at a store. And then if you look forward, you can see another lifeboat being launched against orders. And if you look straight ahead, you can see that the Britannic is actually pointed towards the island of Kia right now, but they're still turning. This is the fourth lifeboat to leave the ship. And this is the second, but thankfully final lifeboat that gets chopped up by the propellers. Now, I'm not certain, but I believe all of, if not most of the deaths came from just these two lifeboats being chopped up. There might have been a few inside the ship, but I highly doubt it. Yet another really cool shot here. I'm gonna say that a lot, but I really love what Nikki did with this. And then shortly after that second boat, the captain's informed of what's happening, and he orders the engines to stop. Now this next lifeboat here, almost gets hit by the propellers as well. But thankfully, just before that, the propellers have stopped. Yeah, some of them might have been killed by the blast, but I feel like most of them were from the propellers. And now you can hear the alarm being sounded again, notifying everyone that boats can now be lowered. I wouldn't be surprised if at least one person was killed from the mine blast. I wouldn't doubt it, either. I love a lot of these angles. I like how the lifeboats are just kind of lined up, almost like in a formation. Now, I can understand why a lot of people, especially on Titanic, hated being in these boats or didn't want to get in them. Because, I mean, just take what you're seeing right now, except you can barely see anything, and it's also freezing cold. And just the creaking, it makes it seem like these boats are unstable and about to break, even though clearly they're not, but... It's funny to me because I'll try to stop talking about it so much, but a lot of the angles that Nikki chose are the exact types of angles that I would have chosen if I made this. And it's just perfect. And if you want to, like, experience this for yourself, I highly recommend you get the game, which is in the description, along with a bunch of other links, including to Nikki's video, if you want to go ahead and pop a like on it. And now you can just really hear the ship starting to groan and creak, and just in so much pain. So now the Welland davits on the port side are unable to be lowered due to the list. And I think it's already happened, but the forward port gantry davit that you can see right in front of us is stuck. It got jammed and is inoperable, and on the wreck it's still in that position. Ah, I always thought it was still slightly moving. I mean, that's kind of a thing that people often overlook, and I don't blame them because I do too, is that a ship never really actually fully stops. It just drifts. Very slowly. I mean, sometimes they do actually stop, but they do drift. And now you can see here the first motorboat is being launched. Britannic had 2 of these. They're essentially what their name is. They are boats with motors that can be driven. Why they only had 2 of them, I don't know. But as you can see in the message, they are ordered to go pick up survivors from the smashed boats, who are probably still swimming, actually. Which makes me wonder how Violet survived, because I thought she mentioned she was unable to swim. As you can see, steam is being vented out of the other funnels now. Or, well, boiler rooms through the funnels, but you know what I mean. I don't know if any of the survivors ever complained about the venting steam on Britannic, though, because it has to be as loud as Titanic's were, I'd assume, being the same class of ships. But I don't think there was any, like, testimony from the survivors mentioning it. I could be wrong, but... Oh, yeah. Ooh, that's a very, excuse me. My throat's a little dry. That's a very, not good sound there. As of right now, I believe we are... I don't want to pause the video to check. We are just about 30 minutes into the sinking. Lusitania would have been gone a long time ago, and Titanic would have just started sending out distress calls. And I believe the first set of portholes would have gone under by now. And meanwhile, Britannic is about to start having water come up onto the well and forecastle deck. For those of you who don't know what decks those are, that's the front of the ship. And here we come up to yet another beautiful angle. In the video I'm going to show you guys that I made later, you can see that a lot of these angles some of them I recreated. Not copying off this video, but like just angles I liked. I mean, of course there's only so many angles you can get from a sinking ship, but like it's kind of neat to see that a lot of them are what I'd probably choose. Now, an interesting little thing, if you're, like, playing the game, if you go up just in front of the first funnel and look down, you can just see the water coming up throughout the entire sinking, just slowly going up all the way up to the grates. Did I ever send an announcement to my Discord? Oh. No, I didn't. Well, it's too late for that now. Whoops. Sorry, Discord. $15 to evacuate everyone. That's how good these gantry davits were. Well, not everyone, but nearly everyone, as it says. Yeah, I have a Discord. If you'd like to join it, the link should be on my channel homepage. This reminds me, there was one playthrough I did where I just sat on the wing propeller basically the entire time once it came out of the water. It was boring but interesting at the same time. Now, this is where I think Captain Bartlett gets a little too sentimental. Despite it being obvious that the ship is not gonna make it, he turns the engines back on and starts pushing the ship forward more. The propellers start turning again, and they're on the move once more. There goes the other motorboat. I wouldn't be surprised if the people on that boat were having a mild heart attack seeing that the propellers are now moving again. Once again, the other motor launch is ordered to go pick up survivors. You can hear it just started up. That's nice, Zero. That's another thing that I thought was really cool when I first watched this, is that it's got their own little wireless radio. And here's this amazing shot just watching the propellers slowly go by. Yeah, but to be fair, they can't really see where the propellers are. Only the people in the water can. And I doubt Captain Bartlett had any time to go to the back of the ship. He was probably at the bridge for most of the time. If not all of the time. Could be wrong. That's another thing. They're sailing again. They could risk more lifeboats being crushed, yet they still keep lowering boats. The other side's fine, but... Another thing I never really understood is how they couldn't just start running the starboard propeller. Because... clearly there was nothing wrong with it. They just never turned it on. And the reason I mention that is because the Britannic is now starting to overshoot the island of Kia. I'm gonna turn the volume down just a little bit here. Hopefully that's not too much, but... It's always been something I've been confused about. Just why didn't they use the starboard propeller? Hello, Fernando. Welcome in. And this is a cool shot, too, just watching it sail away from you. I apologize for those noises, that's just my headset, because my normal microphone isn't picking me up very well for some reason. Yeah, so they've turned so far away from Kia, and they've finally gotten the rudder to somewhat respond, so they've turned it. They're trying to turn the ship a little bit, but it ends up not helping much at all. Now, at this point, I probably would have jumped out of the boat if I was in this one. If it didn't turn around like this, it probably could have gotten caught in the propeller as well. And for some reason, they look orange right now. I've always found it fun or like, not fun, but entertaining to watch propellers spinning. Especially out of the water, like on a sinking ship. It's a weird thing. Same with like watching the reciprocating steam engines in action. Yeah, here we go with the forward motion. Because Britannic is still moving, and there's plenty of entries into the ship, it's only making it sink faster. Had they stayed still, the ship probably would have had a couple extra minutes left. Not that they needed them, because everyone was off the ship, but there was no saving the Britannic. She was gone from the moment she hit the mine. You could see the lines hanging from the mast there. And you'll notice that, unlike when we started, when the island of Kia was on our right side, now it's on our left. And they still haven't turned the starboard propeller on, which I never understood. Either there's something that nobody's mentioned about that prevented them from working, or they just didn't turn it on. Because obviously it's effective in turning the ship, but I don't know. That one guy that's mentioned that goes inside to see if anyone's still below, props to him, because the ship is getting close to her plunge. Not that they knew that, but we are now 42 minutes into the sinking, so there's not much time left for the ship. And at this point, Titanic hasn't even started lowering lifeboats yet. They haven't even been swung out yet, I think. And I will do something for this probably on April 14th, or something. I might not, because I would like to catch another Honor and Glory stream if they do that, to see how they change the sinking for the 15th time. But, yeah. Yeah, here we go. Britannic's fully turned around by now, and yet they still are holding on to a little bit of hope that Britannic will be saved, but for whatever reason, they still have the engines running. I think. See steam still being vented out of that second funnel. I will see if I can. As a matter of fact, since Christmas is coming up, I could ask for some of those books. I can't remember what the previous ones you mentioned were, though. There was Mystery of the Britannic, which was that movie, and then there was another book you mentioned that I can't remember. Like, you can clearly see that, one, the ship is now turning away from the island, and two, there's water overlapping the well deck, but they're still going forward. Props to Priestley, dude, if that's how you say his name. For just waiting for everyone to get off before he got in a boat. At this point, only the captain and a few of the crew members and the people in the engine room are still on board. But I think all of the staff have gotten off. And the soldiers. Because there were a few RAMC on board. It's alright, Zero. It's the thought that counts. After all, I'm not going to be receiving much anyway because I got that new Titanic Lego set that's coming out. And here we can see the forecastle deck starting to flood. And from this point on, it's downhill even further. Wonderful angle here. Take a shot for how many times I'm gonna say that. Briefly stuck in the wall there, but that's fine. That's usually normal on a sinking ship, getting stuck in walls. And those people in that lifeboat are probably horrified to see someone with a video camera staring at them. I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't be joking right now. I'm just trying to keep the mood light here. And now you can see the propellers are basically doing nothing but spinning. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. But unfortunately, I don't think they're gonna give Britannic that attention. But we do have the Histo brick Britannic, which is good enough. And there's also the 1:1000 scale Britannic that I actually have sitting on my desk right in front of me. I would show it, but I haven't done a face reveal yet, and I don't want to accidentally do that, so... There is a picture of it somewhere in my Discord, I believe. I think it's on my media chat, or not chat, channel. Surprisingly, water is only on D deck inside the ship. And apparently he's deciding only now to finally abandon ship. But they're sounding the abandoned ship whistle, which is 2 long blasts of the whistle. Yeah, this is a neat little thing here. On the wreck, the emergency telegraph on the bridge is still at full head, so it's believed that either the staff shut down the engines, or Britannic lost all of its steam at a very convenient time. I would love to see that picture if you could find it. And the plunge has begun. We are 48, almost 49 minutes in. Beds are starting to slide. Shut up, computer. Another beautiful shot with the sun just behind the funnel, I think. Oh wait, no, it's up in the sky actually, but there is some sunlight. There goes the bridge. You can see the telegraph is still in the forward position. Oh, really? I like that. That's a neat little thing you did. I didn't notice. Or I wouldn't have noticed, rather. I like that you're focusing more on this side right now, because most people would be focusing on the starboard side. Now, this is where most people commonly believe that the first funnel would fall. Some people still believe that, but personally I believe it fell in the order that you're about to see here. The number 1 funnel wouldn't fall until basically around the time it hit the floor. Which further proves that not all funnels fall as soon as they touch the water. That was probably horrifying for the people in that boat, just seeing that thing come crashing towards them. Shortly after the 3rd funnel falls, the 2nd follows. Another really beautiful shot here that I honestly would like to make my desktop background. Britannic's just screaming. What do you mean, background? Oh, you were talking about what I said, okay. And then the number 1 funnel falls fairly soon, I believe. But of course, we don't see it. we go. The bow of the ship is just slammed into the seabed. And you can hear it just ripping apart now. Well, starting to rip apart, rather. The ship falls back a little bit. It's now basically completely sideways. And then there she goes. It is 9:07, and the Britannic disappears. That's another thing. Britannic is the largest passenger shipwreck on the ocean floor. And the largest ship sunk during World War I. Now, to avoid copyright, I am going to stop it there. Once again, thank you, Nikki, so much for allowing me to use your video. You did a fantastic job putting it together. But we're not done yet, because I still have a thing I want to show you guys. But closing thoughts, it's amazing how quickly Britannic went down. Because in the time from when I started it to now is really how long it took. Now, like I said, if you want to experience that for yourself, you can go ahead and download, well, you'll have to buy it, but you can download Britannic Patroness of the Mediterranean on Steam. I recommend you do, however, you will need a pretty decent computer for it. Though it still works on mine, somehow. But yeah. Also, while we're still on the topic of it, go ahead and click on the link to Nikki's video and like it, because they did a phenomenal job. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my TV over here to calm down because the video stopped. But yeah, go ahead, do them a favor, and give them a like, because that was great. And far better than Honor and Glories, in my opinion. As a matter of fact, I don't think they did anything for this anniversary. I could be wrong, but I never saw anything on it. I mean, not that they have to do it every year, but, you know. Also, yes, I know you're staring at a black screen. Okay, so. I suppose, while we're waiting, I'll have my, my video, play. The video that started it all. Shut. I do not want to hear Sleeping Sun right now. So yeah. Anyways, what I want to show you guys, it's not great. It's, in my opinion, kind of bad. But that's only because I procrastinated and did it and put it together like 2 days before this. I think it's okay for the time that I gave myself to do it. but I personally think it could have been better. It's no surprise what it is. It's about Britannic sinking, but you may, if you've watched my Twitch streams before, you know that I have some different screens of Titanic for like when I start the stream, when I go on a break, when I have problems or I end. I have different things with Titanic that I made in Vehicle Simulator, but I never made one. Um, I never made one for Britannic, and I always wanted to, but I didn't. So that's what I went ahead and did, and I wanted to do it specifically for the anniversary. What did Nikki say? Oh, for the record, it was never meant to be better than either of the Honor and Glory recordings. Was a for fun thing that quickly became more serious over the course of 2 weeks. Well, I personally think it was better. Include a lot more information, which I loved. But, I mean, hey, everything I've done on my channel is for fun, but people basically tell me the same thing. I suppose before I show it, I should mention this since I talked about my channel. Since apparently barely anybody has read my Twitter post that I linked in community, I've said this a bunch of times, but I'll say it again. I see YouTube as just a hobby. That's why I haven't been making many videos. I made this channel just to put some cool edits I made on, but the algorithm likes me, apparently. Fine with that, but I just don't want people to expect me to be making videos on a schedule or every month or so. I just kind of don't have the motivation to do it. I want to just kind of do my own thing. And when I make something, I make something. I know for sure that I'm going to make something for Christmas this year. I want to remake my Polar Express video. So look forward for that. But anyways, that's the long and short of it. I'm only doing this for fun because it's not something I get paid for anyway. I mean, hey, I only did this because I wanted to see what my editing skills were like. But yeah, Sleeping Sun's a good song. I just think they use it too much with Britannic. Thank you for that, Western. I really appreciate the people that understand. It's just a lot of people don't seem to read anything that has nothing to do with Britannic or Titanic on my channel. Get that out of here. Anyways, so I will warn you, this is 13 minutes long. Most of it is just long shots of Britannic sailing by, but a lot of it's silent too because I didn't do too much sound work because I didn't have time to and I was tired last night. But just bear with me here. And if you are ready, let's go ahead and begin. Now, for whatever reason, I can't hear the audio on my end. But I know you guys can. Also, that's a maybe on there, Western. I might just do, like, clips from the movie for this year. I also would like to thank Zero for what's the word? Suggesting some angles. Most of them were like side-facing angles, but I still appreciate it. Now, of course, most of this is going to be silent up until the end. So, hope you don't mind a little bit of silence. I'm sure you don't. Well, I'm glad you could stop by for the sinking, Nikki, and it was really nice to talk to you, and once again, thank you for allowing me to use your video. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and maybe we could get in touch sometime. Yeah, if I had more time, I probably would have put like like just ocean noises, like for example right here, the propellers, but I just didn't have any time. It's another nice shot that I decided to go with. You never really see any underwater shots with the propellers for Britannic. For me, it's almost any angle I like, to be honest. Now, of course, it's way too difficult to get a lifeboat correctly positioned to go into a moving ship that has a larger hitbox than it actually is, so I just didn't even bother to put the lifeboat in. I mean, I did, kind of, but I wanted to do it myself and not use Alex Butte's sinking animation, but I didn't really have a choice. A lot of these shots that you're seeing right now of the ship moving is me just altering the position of the ship and sailing it. Now, for whatever reason, only using the port propeller doesn't also move the center propeller, so most of the time, that's why you don't see it moving. Then, of course, my sinking's a bit inaccurate, but I couldn't be perfect about it in 2 days. There you go, the propellers have stopped. Another thing that's difficult is that I can't really do much stuff in the game, because if I tab it in, all of this is me tabbing into OBS while recording. I'm letting it do its own thing, because if I tab into the game, it just does a huge frame drop, and it's basically impossible to do anything. Which is why I once again have that donation link at the very bottom of the description in case you would like to help out and help help me save money to get a new computer. If you would like to do that, then go ahead and hit that link, and you know what to do from there. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't get the bouncing to not happen, when you position a ship too far down into the water, like at a great angle like this, it starts bouncing because it's not able to be balanced properly. And I'm normally able to fix that by by just docking the ship and having it be held by the lines, but it's hard to do that when a ship's needing to move while it's sinking. So that's why a lot of the shots are kind of like short as well, because like the ship just really starts bouncing like after the shot actually cuts. So here we are. The well deck and forecastle deck are starting to flood over. Here's that one shot that I really like. You can now see that Kia is on the port side of the ship. And yeah, at this point we're using the sinking animation. So I'm all of this is the animation now, because if I tried to do this myself, the ship would go into space, and I'm not kidding about that. The ship actually will fly up into space if it doesn't balance properly. And here's the abandoned ship whistle. And now you'll start to hear the ship make a lot of noises. I wanted to get sounds for the funnels collapsing too, but for whatever reason I couldn't overlap sounds, so I could only have one sound playing at a time. And of course, the funnels falling is wrong in this one, but nothing I could do about it. Yeah, but the sound file that I used for the long distance whistle, that whistle was heard from a very far distance in the actual real-time syncing. I just used it because I liked using the quieter one there. And here goes the third funnel. Another underwater shot. And then there goes the last funnel. And that lifeboat. and soon enough it'll hit the ocean floor and then disappear. Now, of course, the propellers are not supposed to be spinning still, but that's air that Alex did, not me. And you can see some of the frame drops that I mentioned earlier because I briefly tabbed in there. And I was going to add some text at the end, but once again, I kind of rushed this. And you see the wreck just moments after it's rested on the seabed, and then we cut to a few years later. Well, more than a few years, but... And there you have it. That's the video. Now, unfortunately, that is basically all I have planned. So, I can bring this back up. Yeah, we've been here for basically 3 hours, which is funny because that's the normal time I stream for. Feels like it's been longer, though. So, we'll take these last few minutes to say goodbye and stuff. For one thing, I really appreciate Western for helping me out with the historic stuff, and also offering to help me. I may not be able to respond right away, but if you want to just kind of talk with me through Discord, I mean, that's up to you, whether it's through text or on call. I don't really mind either way. We could probably figure something out. Also, I'd like to thank Zero for sticking around and stuff, because I really wanted to show you this and see what you thought about it. And once again, I know they're not here anymore, but thanks, Nikki, for just letting me make this happen, really. I don't like that you said that, Zero. Now I want to take everything I said about you back. They are not making an okay hand symbol. Stop it. I'm kind of sad that this is ending because I really enjoyed this. Of course, talking about my favorite ships is something I really enjoy doing. I'll probably do something for Titanic in April. I might do this for other ships as well. I think it'd be fun. Will I do this next year? Most definitely, if I am able to. It'll basically be the same thing, but by the time a year has gone by, people have forgotten about it. I will probably keep this stream up, by the way. Give some people something to watch because of my absence. The Roblox Titanic video I was working on, by the way, I have stopped working on it until I can get a new computer because it is impossible for me to get anything done. Because I do not want to steal other people's work like I did in the last one, which, yes, I admit, I basically stole them. Now, of course, when I say steal, it's more so just not asking for permission. This time, I did ask for permission, but the only problem is for the later updates, I want to record stuff for myself. I can't do that because my computer will just freeze up on me if I try to record Roblox. That's why the video that I made before is still up. And unless someone asks me to take it down, it'll stay up until I make the new one. On top of that, no new videos for now. I have been working on a trailer video that I kind of stopped on for a while. No, you can't without the lights because the lights are part of the game, and I can't do anything about that. That's another thing I probably could do, but I already uninstalled the game. Maybe if I could install it, I could do some stuff on it with Zero. Who knows? Anyways, I had a really fun time. I'm still pretty sad that I'm gonna have to end this. However, just know that I am still alive. I have not quit YouTube. I'm just not in the mood to make anything. That's going to be all for this stream. Thank you all so much for tuning in and sitting through this stream. Oh, hold on. I almost forgot. I was going to read off the names, if I can find them. If I can even pronounce the names here. I probably won't be able to pronounce any of them. Alright. For the 30 people that died, including Charles R. Collar, William Sharp, Lillian Lewis, Kathleen Ling, Laura Longstaff, Nathan, that's all it says, Nathan, Violet Maud Peters, Eleanor Callan, Daisy Colcutt, Hilda Clarkson, Mabel W. Guilford, sorry, I have to go to the next page here. Helena Garrett, Alfred Inson, I probably butchered that one, I'm sorry. Marion Nells, Henrietta McCree, Fanny Orford, G.M. Pridden, Clifford Kitchen, Augustus Northcote, George S. Kingsnorth, Florence Doyle, Evelyn Falconer, Muriel Allen, Florence Irving, Eva Rhodes, Florence Wilmot, A.J. Cunningham, Emily Blenko, Mary, it just says Mary, Florence Creed, and Sheila Macbeth. The 30 lives that were lost in the disaster. 105 years ago today. I most likely butchered a few of those names, and I might have missed a few. If I did, I apologize. I'll see you next year to once again look at the Britannic and her short-lived life, along with the people on it. But until then, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you once again for coming, and I will see you next time.